Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Let's Mod Warframe. Today we're doing another subscriber request from Daniel 1011011101 and take a look at arguably one of the strongest melee weapons in the game, the Dragon Nikana. The Dragon Nikana was introduced in the upgrade of the old melee system to Melee 2.0, and with the stats that it boasts with little to no downside whatsoever, it quickly established itself as one of the best melee weapons in the game, posting 85 damage a hit, with the large majority of that coming as slash damage. It has the highest base damage out of all of the live melee weapons, also boasting a pretty decent critical chance, reasonable critical damage, wide multi-hitting strikes, pretty decent stagger chance, and a very low stamina cost. It's very easy to see why the Dragon Nikana is one of the top melee weapons. The only real downside of this weapon is it has a small jump attack knockdown, which when you compare the positives to the negatives, it's nowhere near enough to override all of the awesome stats this weapon comes with. It also comes with probably the widest variety in terms of stance mods, and with a choice between 3, Blind Justice, Decisive Judgment, and Tranquil Cleave. Now honestly, I could sit here and go through all of the advantages and disadvantages of the stance mods, much like I would do with the other melee weapons. However, unlike a lot of the melee weapons, all 3 of the stances are actually pretty fantastic, and it's really down to personal preference as to which one you use. Personally, I switch between Decisive Judgment and Blind Justice fairly regularly when I want to use the Dragon Nikana. Now I'd like to say it's down to the combos and the damage outputs that I do, but honestly it's because I enjoy the movesets. The twin-handed approach of Decisive Judgment is something that's always pleasing on the eye, and it just happens to have some very good combos thrown in. And Blind Justice as a stance is one that I enjoy purely because of the lore behind it, with it being a nod to a fictional Japanese blind swordmaster. That, and I find the combos to be very quick, great for multi-hit, and look absolutely fantastic. So like I say, it really is personal preference as to which of these brilliant stance mods you want to use on the Dragon Nikana. Okay, so let's move on to starting to mod the Dragon Nikana. Now if I'm honest, there is actually only going to be one mod that changes between all 3 of our builds, because we can use a certain mod in all of them that is actually going to help our efficiency on this weapon. We're going to start off with Blind Justice in the stance slot. We're going to go with Pressure Point for melee damage, Life Strike for life steal in that D polarity, which is going to allow you to steal health from your enemies while you're channeling at the loss of channeling efficiency, which we are going to keep in check with further mods in the build. We're then going to go with Killing Blow for channeling damage, Corrupt Charge for more channeling damage at the loss of a little bit more efficiency, and then we're going to go with Reflex Coil for channeling efficiency, and Fury for attack speed. Now we're also going to go with Focus Energy on all 3 of our builds, which is going to bring up 60% electricity damage and help also with that channeling efficiency. Now if you go into the actual mod, Shocking Touch, it's also only 60% electricity damage, which means that there is actually no damage loss for using Focus Energy over Shocking Touch, which means why wouldn't you use it? You'd use it on all 3 of your builds. So for our Grineer build, we're going to combine it with Molten Impact, and that's going to bring up radiation damage against the heavy Grineer units, which the slash really isn't going to be any use against. So that radiation is very useful. And for our Corpus build, we're going to combine it with Vicious Frost to bring up magnetic damage. Now the reason for Vicious Frost is because, again, we've got North Wind, which is 60% extra cold damage, and Vicious Frost, which is 60% extra cold damage plus more status. So there's absolutely no reason not to have Vicious Frost on there. It's only going to bring you up from 15 to 24% status, but then it's a free damage increase, and more of a chance of actually proccing that magnetic damage against those shielded units that the slash really can't deal with, since the slash is going to be dealing very effectively with the crewmen and the tech, the really fleshy sort of Corpus units. And then against the infested, we're going to combine it with Fever Strike to bring up corrosive damage against the against pretty much all of the infested units. Okay, so on to my thoughts about the Dragon Nikana and whether it's worth the catalyst, and the answer to that is absolutely yes it is. With the multitude of stance mods, amazing damage and low stamina cost, the Dragon Nikana is really the king of the light weapons and a serious contender for the best melee in the game. Now obviously the build I've used in this video is a very specific one, designed to be used on frames that can HP tank to gain energy using their health. So frames like Valkyria and Sarin are best for it, using the combo of Rage on the Warframe to gain energy from health lost, and then Life Strike to gain health by using that energy to leech health off of enemies whilst channeling. And that's definitely how I find the weapon to be at its strongest. By no means is this the absolute best build for this weapon. You can always put a non-channel weapon, a non-channel build on the weapon with like a dual elemental combo, buffing the slash damage with mods like Buzzkill or Jagged Edge, if the channel build is really not to your liking. This is just how I feel the weapon to be the most effective and the most fun for the way I play, but then that's not into everybody's playstyle, and that really is understandable. Now, the problem with me talking about melee weapons is that honestly it's one area of the game that I barely ever touch. Melee 2.0 was an amazing thing and was awesome for those who love to play with the melee weapons. However, ever since I started just after closed beta, melee weapons meant one thing to me: mobility. So naturally I moved over to the dual Zorans at the time, and that was my melee weapon of choice. Then after a while the dual Kamaz came out, and I'm sure you've seen in pretty much every single one of my videos, the dual Kamaz is now my melee weapon of choice. They're not bad damage wise, I mean it's going to get the job done, but I love them for their manoeuvrability. However, you lose so much of that mobility when using melee weapons like the Dragon Nikana or the Sindo Prime. It's not that they're bad weapons, far from it. They just don't do it for me. The one faction I used to take non-mobility based melee against was the Infested. But now it's just safer to shoot themselves, or to shoot the Infested from a distance, especially since right now the Tar Mutilus mowers can one-shot you from full health with a max armoured Valkyria, which is quite frankly a little bit silly and takes a lot of the fun out of the melee against the Infested for me, especially since that was the one faction I actually enjoyed taking the melee against. Now I know that I've digressed a little bit during the video, mostly because it's due to me not being much of a melee user. I really do find it very difficult to talk about something like the Dragon Nikana, and frustrating events like dying in one hit to these tar mowers is insanely and intensely frustrating. I've even left some of the deaths in the video, so you can see that I'm truly one shot by them. However, the Dragon Nikana really is an awesome weapon. It does amazing damage, it has a quick attack speed and great stances, and it is one that I would definitely recommend to those of you that really enjoy the melee weapons. However, it just doesn't do it for me, since that's not the way I play. I don't use the melee in an offensive capacity, I much prefer the guns. Like I say, doesn't mean that I don't think it is a fantastic weapon, however. Now I apologise if I sound a little bit under the weather in these videos. I've actually not been well at all these last few days, but I still want to make sure you guys and girls get the content that you deserve. And come hell or high water, I am going to be at the stream on Saturday, so don't worry about that at all. If you've got any comments on this episode, or any of the previous episodes, feel free to leave a comment below. I always try and answer them as much as I can. As always, a huge thanks for the support. Please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, it helps me out a ton. And I shall see you in the next episode.